He ruled the music industry with a platinum fist, flashing diamonds, private jets, and chart-topping hits. But while the world watched him build an empire, something darker was growing behind the scenes. Now, in a packed New York courtroom, his former inner circle is pulling back the curtain, and what they're revealing has left the industry stunned. A once loyal employee says she was kidnapped at gunpoint. A Grammy-nominated rapper says he was nearly ambushed at his own home. And at the center of it all, Sean Diddy Combs, once a hip-hop kingpin, now accused of masterminding a twisted web of threats, violence, and control that spanned decades. This isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's a story of power, paranoia, and silence finally breaking. 1. Diddy's inner circle starts to crack. Capricorn Clark wasn't just another assistant. She was one of Diddy's top insiders. As a former global brand director for Bad Boy Entertainment, she had access to everything. The meetings, the homes, the secrets. But when she took the stand, the image of a glamorous life under a hip-hop mogul shattered almost instantly. Through tears, Clark described her very first day on the job, when Diddy allegedly looked her in the eyes and said if she had ties to Suge Knight, he'd have to unalive her. No warning, no handshake, just a chilling threat that set the tone for everything that followed. It wasn't just about power, it was about control. And for Clark, the fear didn't stop there. But what she shared next made that first threat look almost tame. 2. The Suge Knight connection and unalive threats. It all started with suspicion. Diddy allegedly believed Clark had past ties to Suge Knight, his longtime rival in the hip-hop world. And that alone was enough to spark a threat on her life. According to Clark, just days into the job, she was taken to Central Park late at night, where Diddy and a bodyguard confronted her. That's when he told her straight, if your past ever becomes a problem, I'll have to unalive you. This wasn't just intimidation. It was psychological warfare, and it worked. Soon after, Clark was forced to take multiple lie detector tests, 5 days in a row, over a missing stash of diamond jewelry. The examiner, a massive man, allegedly told her, if you fail this test, they're going to throw you in the East River. She was barely weeks into the job. This was her new normal. But as disturbing as that was, it was just the beginning, because what happened next pulled her into something far more dangerous. 3. The night of the escalade. December 2011, Clark was asleep when she says Diddy burst into her room holding a gun. He just found out about Cassie's secret relationship with Kid Cudi, and he was furious. According to Clark, he shouted at her to get dressed because we're going to unalive this expletive. She didn't argue. She couldn't. What followed felt like something out of a thriller. Clark testified that she was forced into a black Cadillac Escalade with Diddy and his bodyguard, driving through Los Angeles in the middle of the night. Their destination? Kid Cudi's house. Diddy and his bodyguard entered the home, while Clark stayed behind the car, shaking, terrified, and holding on to one lifeline. Cassie. She called her and whispered the truth. He's got me with a gun. He brought me here to unalive Cudi. In the background, Clark said she could hear Cudi, stunned, asking, he's in my house? Then headlights appeared. It was Cudi arriving. And what happened next pushed everything to the edge. For the chase and the threat that followed. As Cudi pulled up, the mood shifted from tense to explosive. Clark says Diddy and his bodyguard raced back into the Escalade. No hesitation, no words, just fury. They peeled off, chasing Cudi's car through the streets of Los Angeles. But the pursuit didn't last long. Flashing red and blue lights appeared ahead. Police cars responding to reports near Cudi's home. Diddy slammed the brakes and backed off. But he wasn't finished. Back in the SUV, Clark says Diddy turned to her furious. He grabbed her phone and called Cassie directly, demanding to know who she had been talking to. The situation had gone from dangerous to completely unhinged. Then came the chilling ultimatum. Clark says Diddy looked her dead in the eyes and told her, you need to convince Cudi it wasn't me. If you don't, I'll unalive all you. And she believed him. 5. The assault no one stopped. After the failed chase, Clark and Cassie drove to Cudi's home. Not to warn him, but to convince him not to call the police. According to Clark, Diddy made it clear, make sure he doesn't report this, or else. But things escalated even further when they returned to Diddy's residence. That's where Clark testified. She witnessed something she said would haunt her forever. Diddy exploded on Cassie, unleashing a violent assault over her relationship with Cudi. According to Clark, he kicked Cassie repeatedly with what she described as 100% full force, targeting her legs and back. Cassie collapsed outside the house, curled in the fetal position, silently sobbing. Clark said her heart broke watching it happen. But no one stopped it. Not the bodyguard, not Clark, no one. The courtroom reportedly went silent as she described the moment, how powerless she felt, and how Diddy's control over everyone around him made resistance feel impossible. And yet, after all that, she didn't quit. Not then, not for years. But the next twist? It made everyone question why. 6. The loyalty that didn't make sense. After everything, after the gun, the threats, the chase, and the assault, you'd think Capricorn Clark would have run far from Diddy's orbit. But she didn't. In fact, she stayed on and off as his employee for over a decade, from 2004 to 2018. Even after allegedly being kidnapped at gunpoint and witnessing brutal abuse, she kept working for him. And here's the part that left the courtroom frozen. Last year, after federal agents raided Diddy's homes, Clark reportedly tried to come back. She offered to return as his chief of staff. That single detail raised more questions than answers. Why would someone go back to the man who allegedly traumatized them? Was it fear, control, or something deeper about how Diddy operated behind closed doors? The defense jumped on it. Diddy's lawyer pushed her hard, questioning her memory, pointing out inconsistencies, and highlighting how much time had passed. Clark admitted that some events were hazy. It was such a long time ago, she said. But even with the gaps in memory, the emotional weight of her testimony was undeniable. And what came next in court would only raise the stakes higher. 7. Who takes a stand next? With Capricorn Clark's explosive testimony still hanging in the air, the trial pressed forward, and the next witnesses were expected to bring hard facts to the emotional storm. First up, LAPD Officer Christopher Ignacio. His testimony could provide critical confirmation of Clark's timeline, locations, even past police interactions involving Diddy. Then comes LAFD arson investigator Lance Jimenez. His role hasn't been fully detailed, but sources suggest his testimony may touch on previous allegations of property destruction, possibly another layer to Diddy's alleged reign of intimidation. But the most anticipated witnesses? A man named Deontay Nash, and an alleged victim named Mia. Mia is expected to testify directly about her experience with Combs. While her identity and story have been kept tightly sealed, prosecutors hinted she could be a key to proving the wider pattern of abuse, control, and fear that Clark described. With each witness, the case grows darker and more tangled. What started as rumors and headlines is now unfolding in real time under oath. And for Diddy, the stakes couldn't be higher. Conclusion: the fall of a mogul? What's unfolding in that Manhattan courtroom is more than just a celebrity trial. It's the unraveling of a carefully constructed empire. Sean Diddy Combs, once seen as untouchable, now sits at the center of storm fueled by decades of whispered rumors, buried secrets, and now, sworn testimony under oath. Capricorn Clark's story was just one piece, but it painted a picture of a man who allegedly ruled through fear, violence, and absolute control. A man who, if the charges hold, built his legacy not just on music and business deals, but on silencing those around him. And the most chilling part? It's not over. More witnesses are coming. More stories are about to surface. And as the walls close in, the world is left watching, wondering, is there still more to be exposed? Either way, the truth, whatever it is finally being dragged into the light.